Welcome to another lecture in the course on 3G, 4G wireless communication systems. In the last lecture, we had looked at the near far problem in CDMA or code division for multiple access wireless systems, in which a user who is closer to the base station on account of having lower path loss and hence higher power drowns out a user who is farther from the base station who has lower power because the higher path loss. This is known as the near far problem in CDMA systems, and we saw that power control is a very critical component of CDMA systems to avoid the near far problem. Then we had moved on to summarize different aspects of CDMA, starting with the orthogonal code sequences and so on, to just provide a brief summary of whatever we have covered in the CDMA module. And then we had moved on to a new module, namely MIMO, which MIMO stands for multiple input, multiple output communication systems, and MIMO system can be simply be represented as having multiple antennas at the transmitter and the receiver. That is, I take a conventional system which only has a single antenna at the transmitter and single antenna at the receiver. A MIMO system has multiple antennas at the transmitter and multiple antennas at the receiver, and we saw that this can be represented using a matrix notation as Y1, Y2, Yr, which are the R symbols received at the R receive antennas, can be represented as an R cross T matrix, which is the channel matrix H, times x1, x2, xt, which is the T dimensional transmit vector, that is the symbols transmitted from each transmit antenna. Each of the entries of this channel matrix H are the fading coefficients. Hij is the fading coefficient between the ith receive antenna and the jth transmit antenna, plus the noise at each receive antenna, that is n1 plus n2 up to nr, which is an r dimensional noise vector. And we said that this is spatially uncorrelated noise, hence its covariance is sigma n squared I, that is, it is sigma n squared proportional to identity. It is also known as isotropic, which is to say that it is equally distributed in all directions of this matrix. Well, the sense of direction is not yet clear amongst on this discussion, but as we go progressively, we will see in MIMO systems there is a sense of direction and so on. So, this is isotropic noise, that is, it is uniformly distributed on all directions of this r dimensional space. Right. So, with this, let us go on to today's lecture, which is in which we will progress to other topics on MIMO. So, let us start with a discussion on MIMO receivers, that is, we are transmitting information in MIMO system. How do we detect information at the receiver? So, we will start with MIMO receiver, and more specifically we will talk about linear, that is, at least initially we will talk about a linear MIMO receiver. And the first one I want to talk about is, for instance, let us consider a MIMO wireless communication system which is given as y equals hx plus n. I am going to refer to that model again, we have described that model in detail. So, I am going to use that model subsequently. So, please familiarize yourself with this model, because we are going to keep using it frequently. So, the MIMO system model can be described as y equals h x plus n. As we have seen, x is the transmit symbol vector, y is the receive symbol vector. Now, one simple receiver to do in this case is at the receiver, once I receive y. So, this is at the receiver, I have y. So, at the receiver I will invert the channel matrix, I will perform h inverse y, that is equal to h inverse times h, which is identity, times x, hence this is x plus h inverse of n. So, the simplest receiver that I can think about is simply inverting this channel matrix, that is, I have a channel matrix H, I will compute H inverse, multiply by H inverse, that will give me x, except I have some noise over here. So, I have some noise as a result of this inversion. This is the simplest inverse receiver, except that in the most general case I cannot do H inverse, I cannot compute H inverse. Why? Because of two reasons. One, inverse only exists for square matrices. So, inverse only exists if R equals T and 2, even for a square matrix inverse need not exist if the matrix is rank deficient. So, even for square matrices the inverse so there are two reasons why we cannot do a direct inverse. One, inverse only exists if R equals T, that is the number of receive antennas equals number of transmit antennas, so that the matrix H is square. Alright, for instance, if I have 4 receive antennas and 2 transmit antennas, it is a 4 cross 2 matrix, so there is no inverse of a 4 cross 2 matrix. Second, even if R equals T, that is I have 2 receive antennas, 2 transmit antennas, I cannot always guarantee existence of an inverse, because if the matrix does not have full rank, then it is not invertible. Alright, so because of these problems we move on to a slightly more refined definition of an inverse. I will specifically consider the case when R is greater than or equal to T and define a generalized inverse. So, we will define a generalized inverse for R greater than or equal to T. So, if R is greater than or equal to T, I have the following situation. I have y1, y2 up to yr equals h11, h12, h21 so on up to hr1, h22, h1t, h2t so on hrt. Remember, the width of this is T, that is number of columns is T, the height of this matrix is R, and R is greater than T, which means it is thin and it is tall. The matrix has more rows than it has columns. So, the matrix looks something like this. Alright, it is a thin matrix times x1, x2 up to xt plus n bar. Alright, so this is also colloquially loose parsing known as a thin matrix. As I said, this is not a technical term, but it is known colloquially in very loose language as a thin matrix, something that has more rows than columns. You can clearly see this corresponds to the case when you have more equations than unknowns. So, this corresponds to the case. So, when R is greater than or equal to T, we have more equations than unknowns. Why is that the case? Because we have R equations at each of the R receive antennas. However, the unknowns are only T, which are the transmit symbols. Because equations are R, the unknowns are only T, that is we have R equations, because each receive antenna, remember we are measuring. So, these equations are nothing but these are also the measurements. So, we have R measurements, but we have only T unknowns, that is there are T unknowns at the T receive antennas, hence they have more equations than unknowns, hence this system might not have an exact solution. Hence, there might not be an exact. This you know from your basic introduction to linear algebra, that if the number of equations is less than the number of unknowns, then you can possibly have an infinite number of solutions. However, if the number of equations is more than the number of unknowns, then there is a possibility of a non-existence of a solution. Hence, we can only approximately solve this system, and the method to solve this system is known as follows. We will find the minimum error solution. So, we will find the minimum error transmit symbol vector. So, amongst all possible transmit vectors x bar, choose the minimum error vector, and the keyword here is minimum. So, how do we choose the minimum error vector? Remember, the error is nothing but this is the norm of the error. Y is the measurement, x is the unknown vector. Hence, I am choosing my x such that y minus h x, the error is minimized. So, I am choosing an x such that this error, this measurement error is minimized. This is known as the minimum error solution. This is also known as, this also has a name, this is known as least squared error. Look at this, we are considering the squared error. Hence, this is also known as the least squares solution. This also has a name, this is known as the least squares Now, we will go through a procedure to systematically solve. Before we do that, let me give you a brief background on vector differentiation. You must all be familiar with differentiation. Let me just briefly introduce vector differentiation, that is differentiation with respect to a vector. So, let me just introduce the concept of vector differentiation. That is, if there is a function f which is a function of a vector quantity x bar, how do you differentiate d f x bar with respect to d x bar? How do you differentiate that? The answer to that is simple. Let me write a column vector. Let us say we have a column vector x bar equals x1, x2 up to xt. Then the vector differentiation of df by dx bar is nothing but simply the vector df by dx1, df by dx2, so on, df by dxt. All right. So, I am differentiating the vector with respect to each of its components. All right. So, if I have a t dimensional vector and there is a function of that vector, the derivative of the function with respect to the vector is nothing but df by dx1, df by dx2, so on, df by dxt, that is derivative with respect to each of the t components. Now, the derivative of C transpose x bar with respect to dx bar, you can see from this expression, is nothing but derivative of C1 x1 plus C2 x2 plus C2 xt with respect to x1, that is C1, derivative with respect to x2, that is C2, derivative with respect to xt, that is Ct. Hence, this is nothing but C bar. In fact, C bar transpose x is also equal to x bar transpose C. Hence, the derivative of both C bar transpose x bar with respect to x bar and derivative of x bar transpose C bar, x bar transpose C bar with respect to x bar is both C bar. Hence, I will summarize them. It is not a very complicated relation. All it says is, for instance, in differentiation you might have seen this result, d of C x over dx is nothing but C, that is, I take x multiplied with a constant C, derivative of C x with respect to x is nothing but that constant C. This is the vector analog of that, that is the derivative of C bar transpose x bar with respect to x bar is C bar. All right, this is a vector analog of this scalar rule. So, I am going to just rewrite this as follows: derivative of C bar transpose x bar over d x bar equals derivative of x bar transpose C bar over d x bar, which is nothing but C bar. All right. So, this derivative is C bar, that is the result that we are going to use subsequently. Now, let us go back to our original problem of computing the least squares solution. Now, I want to minimize y minus h x norm square. This is nothing but, as we have seen many times before, norm of vector is nothing but vector transpose times the vector. Although this can be done for complex numbers, let me simply illustrate this for real matrices, because the complex case is slightly more tricky. So, let me illustrate this for real matrices, and let us take this on faith that this is also valid for complex matrices. So, this is y minus h x transpose y minus h x. This is nothing but y transpose y minus x transpose h transpose y minus y transpose h x, there has to be a bar over all these entries, plus x bar transpose h bar transpose h transpose h times x bar. Okay, so, now I will take this and differentiate this with respect to. So, let me rewrite this expression over here, that is y transpose y minus x bar transpose h transpose y bar minus y bar transpose h x bar plus x bar transpose h transpose x transpose x bar. Now, let us differentiate each component of this expression with respect to x. You can see the first component is y bar transpose y bar, where I differentiate it with respect to x, this is 0. Now, this is the next component is some x bar transpose into c, where c is h transpose times y. Hence, this derivative is nothing but, we saw that differentiate derivative of x bar transpose c with respect to x bar is nothing but c. Here c is h transpose y. So, this is nothing but minus h transpose y. The next thing we have seen that derivative of c transpose times x bar is also c. Hence, this derivative also minus h transpose y plus, now this is a square term, this has x bar twice. All right. So, this is x bar transpose h transpose. So, we use the sum rule, that is assume one of them is constant, differentiate with respect to other, and assume the other is constant, differentiate. So, assume that x bar transpose is the one, h transpose h x bar is constant, then this differentiation becomes x bar transpose c, where c is h transpose h x bar. Hence, this derivative is h transpose h x bar plus, now when you assume again x transpose h is constant and you are differentiating with respect to x bar, it is again h transpose h x bar. Hence, this is nothing but minus 2 h transpose y bar plus h transpose h x bar. So, the derivative of y minus h x norm square with respect to x bar is minus 2 h transpose y bar plus h transpose h x bar. All right. So, d norm y bar minus h x bar whole square by d x bar equals minus 2 h transpose y bar plus 2 h transpose h into x bar. Now, as we clearly know, to find the minimum or to find the optimal value, we have to set the derivative equals to 0. That is what I am going to do next. I am going to set the derivative equal to 0. So, that gives me minus 2 h transpose y bar plus 2 h transpose h into x bar equals 0, which implies h transpose h into x bar equals h transpose y bar, all right. Hence, now as a result we will get x bar equals H transpose H inverse H transpose y bar, and this is nothing but the estimate of x. Given H, given the received symbol y, I can estimate x hat as H transpose H bar inverse H transpose. Remember, earlier we were looking at H inverse y, but we said that inverse did not exist. Hence, in the case where the number of receive antennas is greater than the transmit antennas, we can use this expression, which is x hat equals H transpose H inverse H transpose y bar. And now the interpretation is that this is not an exact solution, but this is an approximate solution which minimizes the error. Remember, let us go back to where we started with. We said we cannot solve it exactly. The best would be if there is a symbol vector x such that y equals h x, then I can say this is the symbol vector, that is unique symbol vector that has been transmitted, if there is a unique solution. However, because the number of receive antennas is greater than the number of transmit antennas, that is the number of equations is greater than the number of unknowns, there might not be any solution. Forget a unique solution, there might not be any solution. Hence, I can only solve this approximately, and that approximate solution is which minimizes the error is H inverse H T y, that is H transpose H inverse H transpose y. This is the approximate solution that minimizes the least approximate solution that minimizes the least squares error. This is also known as the least squares solution, and in the context of MIMO, this has a name. This is known as the zero forcing solution or the zero forcing receiver. This is known as the zero or abbreviated as ZF this is known as the zero forcing receiver. Let me write it at the title. This is known as the zero forcing receiver, all right, which is x hat equals H transpose H inverse H transpose y, which is minimizes the least squares error. This is known as the zero forcing receiver. And as the next step, I am going to assume the same expression for complex matrices also, because as I said, the derivation in the case of complex matrices is slightly tricky, but a similar expression holds. And if H is complex, remember in the baseband the data is always complex. The expression for complex matrices is x hat equals H Hermitian H inverse H Hermitian y bar, that is I am simply replacing the transpose by Hermitian. Now, I have the complete expression for a complex matrix. This is for complex channel matrix H. This matrix has a name. This is not the inverse. Remember, earlier we had the inverse. This is not the inverse of a matrix. This is known as the pseudo inverse. This is represented, this H Hermitian H inverse H Hermitian, this is represented as H dagger, which is known as the pseudo inverse of H. Why is this the pseudo inverse of H? For that, let us take this matrix H Hermitian H inverse H Hermitian, and let us multiply this by H. Then this is nothing but H Hermitian H inverse into H Hermitian H. Now, you can see there is H Hermitian H inverse into H Hermitian H, and H Hermitian H inverse into H Hermitian H is nothing but identity. In fact, if you work this slightly, you will notice that this is identity. H is dimension r cross t, H Hermitian is dimension t cross r, H Hermitian H is dimension t cross t. Hence, this is identity of dimension t. Hence, it is acting as if there is an inverse. I mean, technically we know that if the matrix has a large number of rows compared to columns, we know that there is no inverse, but this is surprising result. It says that such a matrix is invertible. However, I have to caution you, there are two things. First, this is a left inverse, this is not an inverse of a matrix, this is left inverse, because remember, if I multiply this H Hermitian, remember if B equals A inverse, then B A equals identity and A B equals identity, that is I can multiply B both on the left and the right, that is the technical definition of a inverse, alright. However, this matrix, the pseudo inverse, which is H dagger, this H Hermitian H inverse H Hermitian is only a left inverse. Remember, if you can try it out, you can multiply it on the right, in fact you cannot multiply it on the right and this will not work, alright. So, it is only a left inverse. The second thing is inverse is unique, this is the first point. Second point is inverse is unique, however, the pseudo inverse is not unique. However, the pseudo inverse is not unique, hence this is not an inverse. So, the inverse is unique, however, the pseudo inverse is not unique. In fact, I can construct several other matrices such that I multiply on the left and I get the identity. So, this is pseudo inverse is not unique, hence this is not an actual inverse, but a pseudo inverse. However, having said that, there is one caveat here, that is if the inverse exists, let us say H inverse exists, that is H square and H inverse exists, then the pseudo inverse, which is H Hermitian H inverse into H Hermitian is nothing but H inverse into H Hermitian inverse into H Hermitian, H Hermitian inverse into H Hermitian is I, hence this is H inverse. If the inverse of H exists, then the pseudo inverse reduces to the actual inverse that we are more familiar with. So, if inverse of H exists, that is not the pseudo inverse, but if the actual traditional inverse of H exists, then the pseudo inverse reduces to the conventional inverse or inverse, just inverse means inverse in the strictest definition, that is unique and both left and right inverse. Alright. So, that is a bit of a caution here on this concept of pseudo inverse. Now, what is the disadvantage of what is the disadvantage of these inverses and pseudo inverses? First, let me talk about the diversity order of this ZF receiver. We are not going to derive this. Diversity of ZF is R minus T plus 1. That is, let us say there are 4 receive antennas, let us say R equals 4, T equals 2, diversity equals 4 minus 2 plus 1 equals 2 plus 1 equals 3. In fact, if R equals T, the diversity equals 0 plus R minus T is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. In fact, if R equals T, there is no diversity, this first order diversity, which is the diversity of a Rayleigh flat fading channel, alright. So, the diversity order of this zero forcing receiver is in fact very poor, and the reason for that is as follows: it results in what is known as noise amplification. I will illustrate this with respect to a simple case. Let us say we have a CISO channel, let us come down from the MIMO to the simple case of SISO. let us say I have a single SISO channel which is y equals hx plus n. Now, what I am doing is I am literally inverting this channel, I am taking h and dividing by h. So, my receiver is h inverse y or y by h, which is equal to x plus n by h. Now, you can clearly see that there is a problem. If h is close to 0 or if the magnitude of h is small, then the noise tends to, or n by h tends to infinity, it blows up. Hence, for low values of h, this blows up, this is causes instability, this is also known as noise amplification. Hence, the zero forcing receiver suffers from the problem of noise amplification. We are going to see this, we are going to see what is the alternative to this, but the zero forcing receiver has a disadvantage that it suffers from noise amplification. So, let us write the disadvantage zero forcing receiver. The disadvantage of zero forcing receiver are it results in noise amplification. That is the disadvantage of MIMO zero forcing receiver. It with low values of the channel, when channel is close to 0, in the matrix sense we cannot quantify it right now, because it does not, because there is no sense in saying a matrix is close to 0. So, we will have to hold on to what it means in the matrix sense, but in a single scalar channel, that is if h is single antenna, single receive antenna, if the magnitude of h is low, then it results in noise amplification. Something similar happens in the case of a matrix channel, but for that we will have to proceed a little further into the theory of MIMO channel. So, I will hold on to that at this point, but there is a problem essentially. What I want to convey at this point is that there is a problem with MIMO zero forcing receivers. So, nevertheless, let us take up a simple example of a MIMO zero forcing receiver, so that the idea becomes clear. In fact, let us just go through this, so that the whole idea of MIMO becomes more clear. So, let us do a MIMO example. So, I want to consider a MIMO channel which is given as follows, which is given as 2 1 4 3 3 2. All right, this is my MIMO channel. All right, and we can see that this is 3 rows and 2 columns. Hence, the number of receive antennas equals 3 equals the number of transmit antennas T equals 2, that is the number of transmit antennas, that is the number of columns. T equals 2 equals the number of transmit T equals 2 equals the number of transmit antennas. Now, let us write the system model that we have written before. The system model for this is given as, let us write the MIMO system model. Y1, Y2, Y3, which is the symbols received at the 3 receive antennas, equals the matrix 2 1 4 3 3 2 times 2 transmit antennas x1 x2. Remember, there are only 2 transmit antennas, so transmit vector is 2 dimensional, 3 receive antennas, so receive vector is 3 dimensional. So, this is a matrix takes from 2 dimensional space to 3 dimensional space, hence it is 3 cross 2 dimensional plus receive noise, which is n1 n2 n3. This is nothing but y bar equals h x bar plus n bar. This is what we had earlier, that is y bar equals h x bar plus n bar. In fact, I can write this set of equations as y1 equals 2 x1 plus 3 x2 plus n1, y2 equals x1 plus 3 x2 plus n2, y3 equals 4 x1 plus 2 x2 plus n3. If I pick any random number, for instance, look at this 3, this is the coefficient between the second transmit antenna and the second receive antenna. So, this is between second transmit antenna and second receive antenna, and there are 3 equations. As you can see, the number of equations is 3 and there are 2 unknowns. The unknowns are x1 and x2, that is the transmit symbol from antenna 1 and the transmit symbol from antenna 2. So, there are 3 equations and 2 unknowns in this system. Let us now compute the pseudo inverse of this matrix. P inverse H equals H dagger. We have seen that this is given as H Hermitian H inverse times H Hermitian. This is nothing but H Hermitian H inverse times H Hermitian. So, first we have to compute for the given matrix H Hermitian H inverse. So, first let us start with computing H Hermitian H. H Hermitian H is nothing but 2 1 4. This is a real matrix. So, Hermitian is nothing but transpose. So, this is 2 1 4 3 3 2 times 2 1 4 3 3 2. This matrix is nothing but, you can verify, this is 4 plus 1 plus 5 plus 6, 16, that is 21. This is 6 plus 3 plus 8, that is 9 plus 8, that is 17. This entry is 17 and this entry is 9 plus 9, that is 18 plus 4, 18 plus 4, that is 22. All right, you can see from here that this is the 2 cross 2 matrix. So, H Hermitian H equals 21, 17, 17, 22, which is a 2 cross 2 matrix, and the inverse of this 2 cross 2 matrix, we know it is simple, that is H cross H Hermitian H inverse equals 1 over 21, that is determinant, 1 over the determinant times, I swap these 2 entries and I take minus of the entries on the off diagonal, and that is nothing but, I will not do this computation here, but you can compute this matrix is 0.1272 minus 0.0983 minus 0.0983 0.1214. All right. So, H Hermitian H inverse is this matrix that is given over here, and finally, H dagger or the pseudo inverse of H, H dagger equals the pseudo inverse of H, or also known as the left inverse of H. This is given as H Hermitian H inverse, which is 0.1272 minus 0.0983 minus 0.0983 into 0.1272 into H Hermitian, which is 2 1 4 3 3 2, and this matrix is nothing but, I will write down the final solution over here, that is minus 0.0405, 0.1676, minus 0.1676, 0.2659, 0.3121, minus 0.1503, and this is the matrix H pseudo inverse. This is the matrix H pseudo inverse, and you can verify that H pseudo inverse times H, that is multiplying it on the left, multiplying H on the left by H pseudo inverse results in the identity, that is the 2 cross 2 identity matrix. And how do I use this? Remember, H pseudo inverse is a 2 cross 3 matrix, H is 3 cross 2, H pseudo inverse is 2 cross 3, received vector is 3 cross 1, y bar equals received vector is 3 cross 1, and hence H pseudo inverse times y is nothing but this 2 cross 3 into a 3 cross 1 vector, which gives me the estimate x hat, which is 2 cross 3 into 3 cross 1, which is the 2 cross 1 transmit vector. Which is the 2 cross 1 transmit symbol vector. All right. So, x hat is the 2 cross 1, is an estimate of the 2 cross 1 transmit symbol vector. Let me remind you again, that is the least squares estimate, that is an estimate which minimizes the approximation error. And how do you get that? By taking the received vector, whatever you receive at the receiver across the 3 transmit antennas, that is y bar, multiply that by on the left by H dagger, that is H pseudo inverse. So, H dagger times y gives you the least squares estimate. As we saw, the least squares estimate or the zero forcing receiver suffers from the problem of noise enhancement. So, we are going to look at another alternative receiver which is robust to noise enhancement, or which avoids the problem of noise enhancement, that is known as the MIMO MMSC this is known as the MIMO MMSC receiver. What does MMSC stand for? MMSC stands for minimum mean squared error. This stands for the minimum mean squared error. Remember, this is also minimizing the squared error. However, the key term here is mean. It takes a mean squared error. Remember, previously we were minimizing the deterministic squared error. So, this is the means, that is, I am using the squared error as a random variable and I am taking a mean. This is a very critical difference in statistics. This is known as a Bayesian approach. So, a minimum mean squared error leads to what is known as a Bayesian, is essentially a Bayesian approach, which treats the transmitted symbol vector as a random quantity. It treats the transmitted symbol vector as x bar, which is a random quantity, hence y bar is also a random quantity, and you are minimizing the error in the mean. That is the significant difference between the earlier approach. This approach is essentially a Bayesian approach in nature, which assumes the parameter to be random in nature. Let us start with a brief description of this, and let us then go back to our MIMO problem. So, let us say now I consider just to illustrate the point, let us consider let us look at a general minimum mean squared estimation paradigm, that is not MIMO, but some estimation. The paradigm is follows: MMSC I want to estimate, the problem is to estimate some scalar quantity x given a set of observations y, given a set of observations y 1 y 2 up to y r, that is an r dimensional vector, given y 1 y 2 y r. This is an vector which corresponds to essentially r that is I have a set of r measurements. From this r measurements I want to estimate the quantity x, all right. That is what we want to do. Now, further I want to consider what is known as a linear estimator. Hence, I want to consider an estimator of the form C transpose x bar, C transpose y bar, that is my x hat is some C transpose y bar. So, these are my measurements. Let me repeat again, these are my I want to estimate x from the measurements. I am going to use a linear combiner C such that C transpose y bar gives my measurement. So, this is my estimator. In fact, this is also a linear estimator. This is a linear estimator because it is linearly combining the measurements. Remember, we saw something similar in terms of MRC, maximum ratio combiner, that is we are going to linearly combine the measurement, but this is something that is more general. We are now looking at a general case. How do you linearly combine the measurement so as to minimize the mean squared error? Okay. So, now I want, what I want to do is I want to minimize, the aim is to choose, how do I choose this C, that is the question. The question is how do you choose this vector C bar optimally, what is the best vector C bar to choose. So, I want to choose C bar. So, choose C bar, the vector C, such this estimate x hat minus x norm square, that is norm x hat minus x square is minimized. So, if I look at the mean, that is if I take the expected value of this, this is nothing but the mean. I want to minimize the mean, that is this expected x hat, which is the estimate, minus x, that is the mean, the squared error. I am taking the mean, I want to minimize the mean squared error, which also, since I am considering linear estimator, I can put it as follows. I can minimize C bar transpose x bar minus x whole square. I want to minimize C bar transpose x bar, because remember C bar transpose y bar, I am sorry, this is C bar transpose y bar. Remember, I am said my estimator is linear. So, given y, I am going to linearly combine it. So, I want to minimize C bar transpose y minus x bar. This is the estimate, x is the actual quantity. I want to minimize the estimate minus the actual quantity, which is the error, but I am taking the mean of that error and mean of the squared error. Hence, I am minimizing the mean of the squared error. This is what MMSE wishes to achieve. So, next naturally we have to start with computing what is the squared error and what is the mean squared error. So, first let us start with computing the squared error. The squared error is simply CT y bar, as we have done several times before, minus x bar transpose into C bar T y bar minus sorry, this is not x bar, but just let us make it x. Let me also correct this over here. I just want to make this x, because right now we are not considering a vector, although it can be very naturally extended to the case of a vector. I mean, it is very trivial to extend it to the case of a vector. However, for this, to limit the complexity, I will only consider a single a scalar estimation of a scalar quantity from a vector in this case. This is nothing but, I can write this as follows. I can in fact write this as, both these are scalar quantities. So, I will simply write this as C transpose y minus x into C transpose y minus x transpose. Now, this can be written as C transpose y bar transpose C bar minus x y bar transpose C bar minus C bar y bar C bar transpose y bar into x bar plus, sorry, there is no x bar here over here, plus there is x transpose, which is simply x is a scalar. So, this is simply x square. So, this is C transpose y transpose C bar minus x y transpose C bar minus C bar transpose y into x transpose, but x is a scalar. So, it does not really matter, plus x transpose. Okay. So, now I will define some new quantities over here, because we have to compute the mean. So, we need some statistical parameters. So, I will define the following quantities. I will define expected y bar transpose equals r y. This is nothing but the covariance matrix of y. This is nothing but the covariance I need this covariance matrix because we are going to look at the mean and expected value of these quantities. So, I am looking at the covariance, which is a statistical parameter of the system, that is the covariance matrix of the output. I will also look at the cross covariance. I will say expected x y transpose equals r x y. This is the cross covariance. In fact, expected y x or expected y x transpose is nothing but r x y transpose equals r y x. You can clearly see that from this expression, that is expected y x transpose is nothing but the transpose of r x y. All right. So, we have defined these two covariance matrices, that is expected y transpose, expected x y transpose. Expected y transpose is the covariance of y, expected x y transpose is the cross covariance. We have defined these two covariance quantities. We have also derived the minimum, we have derived the squared error. We have to compute the expected value of this squared error. So, we will start from this point due to shortage of time, as we are nearing the end of the time. I am going to close this lecture at this point, and we are going to start the next lecture at this point, and then we are going to derive the MMSE, or the minimum mean squared estimator. All right. So, we are going to start the next lecture with the MMSE estimator. All right. Thank you very much.